Hello everybody and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope we're doing well, and today we're doing a box office preview for this upcoming weekend, which sees the release of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which just got released last night. I was able to watch it and put a review out for it, and let's just say it's an incredibly long, giant bore with some pretty good acting, but still a giant bore nonetheless. We also have some updated numbers here for Black Adam, which, because of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, is looking like it's going to start getting pushed out of the marketplace in various places, including domestically, meaning the chances of it breaking even have now just become a lot less likely. So we'll go ahead and, of course, keep on tracking Black Adam through the course of the weekend to see if it is able to continue to pull up money domestically, internationally, to get ever closer to its own break even of $500 million, which is not nearly as bad as the Black Panther $625 million break even point. However, main difference, Black Panther expected to have a massive worldwide opening of over $350 million, whereas Black Adam's was nowhere near that. But before going any further, though, please make sure you smash that like button, slap that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey, and also smash the rumble button as well. It really does help out a lot. Also, make sure you are subscribed to the channel with the bell notification on. That way you know every video live stream goes live on the channel. I don't even think I said the word notification there. I don't know why. I always struggle over that. But anyway, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Wakanda Forever. It says right here it's expected to open to $170 to $205 million domestically, which is very much on pace for the expected $365 million opening worldwide that is being projected by the likes of Deadline. This, of course, really isn't all that much of a surprise. It says expect this writer-director Ryan Coogler's sequel to the triple Oscar-winning $1.3 billion worldwide grossing hit to do between $175 and $185 million stateside. So they actually have the numbers a little bit less than what Box Office Pro has at over the 4,300 screens, and another $180+ million abroad for a worldwide start of between $355 and $365, which would be below Spider-Man No Way Home's $568 million just last year, and then earlier this year, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, which opened to $429 million. And so even though this film is still going to have a massive opening, especially a massive opening compared to many of the films, again, not since Doctor Strange at the very beginning of the summer did we see another massive film like this, it's still going to be coming in underneath Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which to me is actually kind of a bit of a surprise, just because I know how much hype there has been for this movie, especially in the domestic marketplace. When the first film came out, that was around the same time that I was working at an AMC theater, and so I know just how many people went to go see the first movie and how much hype there was around that, and culturally what it meant for a lot of people. I mean, this was something, as I said, and I've mentioned in previous videos, right, the African-American community really does just went out in full force for this movie to such an extent that it actually is one of the highest grossing, the first Black Panther is one of the highest grossing domestic releases of any MCU film. And so the question, of course, is how much is this film going to get in comparison? And right now, we're looking at the Box Office Pro projections. Again, 170 to 205. They had the domestic total tapping out somewhere between $500 million or so, somewhere between $450 and $500, which is still a lot of money in comparison to a lot of the other releases this year. However, what is not going to be as certain is whether it's going to be able to hold a similar standard internationally, because the first film, though it was a massive success domestically, again, $700 million, didn't make as much internationally. Obviously, it still made enough to push it to the $1.3 billion mark, so it made another $600 million or so internationally. The fact of the matter still remains is that if we see the law of diminishing returns, and on a film like this that is incredibly long, incredibly boring, you're going to see, obviously, more positive ratings coming from critics because, hey, that's just the nature of critics these days. But I would not be surprised if the audience score for this movie is a bit more miffed, is a bit more divisive, because I think that there's definitely some things in here that are worth praising, that people are going to be able to hold on to and are going to be able to try and say, this is the reason why I love it, or this is the reason why I hate it. But I do also think that long runtime is going to ultimately have a negative impact, especially when it comes to its second weekend. Massive openings usually result in massive drop-offs, and so do not be surprised if the massive, $360+ million opening weekend is followed by a, 60 to 70% drop-off in its second weekend. We'll have to, of course, wait and see. We'll have to see what general audiences overall think of the film. As we know, most general audiences these days will watch almost anything that has MCU attached to it. We saw that with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We saw it to a lesser extent with Thor: Love and Thunder, which seemed to be a sign that things might be going a little bit sour on MCU properties. But Black Panther is a bit of a different animal, and I've been saying this for a long time now, because the domestic market is really going to be where this film shines and outshines many of those other films. Internationally, it may be on par or maybe even a little bit less than those other films, but domestically, this film, I think, is going to be a lot more powerful. What's going to be interesting, though, is how Black Adam fares. It's only projected to make $8 million, which means a 56% drop. And so in the last week, we talked about how it was seeing some pretty decent drops in its second to third week drop, around 30% or so. So the fact that now it's dropping over half means that the legs on this movie not likely to be as strong as they were previously, just because it is going to start to be, the market is going to be saturated with Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and so that is going to, I think, have a much more negative impact on the Warner Brothers movie. And if we go back to the Warner Brothers, if we go back to the box office charting that I was doing, right, the last time I updated it, the film was around $319 million worldwide, which means the film was still around $100 million in the red. And I had projected the film to be either an $85 million loss or a very, very small gain. But if the numbers continue on in this way, right, if the movie continues to lose a lot of steam, especially in the face of competition, that is something that could ultimately result in Black Adam being a financial dud for Warner Brothers, which really wouldn't be all that surprising. Of course, there's also the question about China when it comes to this movie. In fact, I have not been able to update this recently, but according to, let's go ahead and pull up and do this live because we like to do things live here on the channel from time to time. As I said, last time I had checked the IMDb release schedule, there was still slated to be a China release, and so let us go ahead and check and see. Right now, this film is currently slated to open today in China, at least according to IMDb. Now, there's been a lot of speculation, there's been a lot of doubts about that actually happening, and we'll see if there's any actual stories when it comes to China and Black Adam. Also, it's going to be interesting to see how many people go to see Black Adam versus Black Panther as having two films that start with the same letter. Again, I think it's interesting there. Anyway, it says that they're unlikely to be released in China. So Hollywood Reporter saying unlikely to be released. China Hollywood has less on the line in China than it used to, but the regular banning of major superhero movies is still costing the studios tens of millions of dollars of potential revenue. And so there you see right there that there is nothing as far as confirmation, just that it's not as likely for it to actually be released there. It says here, but the fact that the DC title had been released at the current climate led many to believe that Black Adam might have a path to a Chinese multiple. An executive at a major Chinese movie theater chain tells THR, however, that their company has stopped hoping that Black Adam will score a local release date. The film opened. The recent dearth of U.S. tentpole product on Chinese markets has arguably hurt local cinema chains the most. As of Monday, total ticket sales for China 2022 was down 35%. Neither Disney nor Warner Brothers responded to requests for comment. Leading theory for Black Adam's ban is the presence of the film of Pierce Brosnan. So, as you can see right now, there is just no confirmation, and that means that if there's no confirmation, the chances of it opening today, not very likely at all. And so, let's just say without China, even with China, it was already going to be kind of, skating on thin ice there. Without China, I don't see how the film is able to reach its $500 million break-even point. So I think we're looking at a pretty massive box office bomb for Black Adam. And again, it's just once again the sign of Warner Brothers overspending on films and so many of these other studios overspending on films when all is said and done. The big question, of course, is going to be Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Is it going to be able to reach that $625 million number? I think it will. Again, based off of these early estimates, right? Also, the fact that if you look at the films ahead, there is no major release expected for the next month. Going all the way up until December 9th, there is no major release that's going to be able to take away much of the box office for this movie. And so that projection of, again, not just getting close to $200 million potentially domestically for its opening weekend, obviously Deadline thinks closer to 175, 185, but the fact that that still remains and the fact that it's expected to open to over 350 million means it getting to 500 million by next weekend is almost a guarantee, right? Unless all the wheels fall off, that's essentially a guarantee. And that means that the film's chance of $1 billion is there, though not necessarily a guarantee. The reason why is because if it were to hit $1 billion by the course of its run, basically it would have to double the amount of money it makes in the first 2 weeks, assuming it makes it to $500 million or how much beyond $500 million it makes it by next weekend. And I honestly think that there is going to be, especially again, remember, Thanksgiving weekend is going to be coming up in a couple of weeks. Also, that is going to have a major impact because with no other films set to be released, this movie is going to therefore be able to gobble up a lot of that box office, probably be able to, if it's having any massive drop-offs, probably be able to stem some of the bleeding in that case, and therefore likely be able to still have a large result by the end of its run. But those are the numbers as they currently stand. What are y'all's thoughts? Do you think that that Black Panther Wakanda Forever is going to open to over $350 million, as many people are projecting. I think it very much will. As I said previously, I know the domestic power that this film has. I don't have nearly as much knowledge about the international showing. As I said, $600 million for the first Black Panther film is still pretty darn good compared to the other MCU films, right? It's also, again, $1.3 billion for the film entirely. It's one of the strongest of the MCU titles. But again, a lot of that stems from it's just massive, well overperforming domestic market. It's not expected to get to that number here domestically this time around, but still, a projection of getting close to $500 million domestically during the climate that we're currently in is definitely still strong enough, none the very less. And it makes me sad, obviously, because I think really bad movies and really boring films like this really shouldn't be getting that type of attention and that type of money. But hey, I can't just say the numbers don't exist when they do. And at this point, it's looking like the film will be a financial success. But what are y'all's thoughts? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, smash that like button, hit the fire button, Odyssey, and smash the rumble button. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge special shout out to all of my November Patreon Subscribe Star and Locals members at the Keeper of the Bifrost level and above. Starting off with Patreon with Father Luca Illich. Thank you very much, Father. Garrett Searles, Jaimir Irie Hymason, Joe Horn, Jonathan Carney, Laura, The Modern Major General Story, Orange Hat Reviews, who you can check out on YouTube at his channel, Orange Hat Reviews, Rosetta Allen, who also has a YouTube channel that you can check out at Eagle Writer, and Miss Martin Muses, who also has a YouTube channel, Miss Martin Muses, and of course the amazing Empress of the Universe, Tina B, who you can check out at her YouTube channel, Tina B, where she hosts the show with Stephanie B, one of my mods, and one of my Valkyrie, called Soup to Nuts. Check out Soup to Nuts, and it premieres pretty much every Friday. So again, shout out to all of my Patreon people, also to all my Subscribe Star people, starting off with Matt317. Check him out on Twitch at Matt317. The R, Fast Reaction, Mr. Roy, J-Rod, the Beer Guru, and ZK-Man. And ZK-Man you could check out over at xtheboundaries.co to follow him as he starts his podcast and also for many of his musical musings as well. Check him out. Very, very talented guy. And then lastly, my locals peeps. We got Miss Minnesota Hockey Fan. How about a hockey player? UAB Mad Dog, Mike Jackson for the win. J.H. Schwalbach, Brett D90, and the amazing lawyer, Robert Barnes. Thank you all so very much for supporting me. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, go ahead and check out the top link in the video description below where you get access to that. Also, you get access to special things like giveaways and also exclusive podcasts I do with John the Flickinger and other guests throughout the month of November and in the previous and the months to follow as well. And again, if any of that sounds interesting to you, especially the 4K giveaways, Steelbook giveaways, some of them that I have to give away this month are films like Starship Troopers on 4K Steelbook, Top Gun Maverick on 4K Steelbook, amongst many others. If that sounds interesting to you, check out the link and follow the instructions down below. Anyway, you guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.